Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Medtech Impact Podcast, where you get to hear from leaders and innovators who are shaping the future of medical technology. I'm Kyle Cruz.
And I'm Richard Beaglejohn.
And we're your hosts of the show.
So today on the Medtech Impact Podcast, we have Jhonatan Bringas, co-founder and CEO of Lapsi Health. Jhonatan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you. And it's really good to be here.
Well, it's really good to have you on because literally we've just been discussing before we came on here how you guys have just done probably one of the most exciting product launches we have truly ever seen. And of course, we're so excited to share more about with the listeners and tell the story all behind Lapsi Health. As we like to do when we kick things off, we like to talk a little bit about the problem, and I know this is going to be an interesting discussion. But, how do you think about the problem that Lapsi Health is solving?
Well, as I was, discussing, and I think I discussed it a couple of times before in other podcasts as well. But I think this one is going to be really special. We have always been thinking on how can you actually build up a technology and build up something new, and then create a market based on the technology that you build. Thinking about the technologies being built before even the problems existed. Like for instance, the creation of energy or the development of the PPG signal. In our case, we consider that aside from there being several problems that could be solved with our technology, our mission is to really establish a new usage of sound and sound combined with photoplethysmography in medicine. And that would actually allow us to be able to create multiple applications for healthcare that can solve multiple problems. So the mission of Lapsi is not necessarily problem related. We see multiple gaps, but we have that technology that might be able to fix these inconveniences and these, or more than inconveniences, these horrible moments of healthcare that can't be solved right now with our technology. And I can give you a couple of examples later on.
Yeah, it's such an interesting approach. I mean, you really are thinking outside the box with your whole way of how you're taking this to market. And again, it's just so exciting to share more about the background of this, Kyle.
Oh, absolutely, Richard. And Jhonatan, as you were kind of talking about what you're doing and how you're really developing this technology in this marketplace, I think it's kind of interesting. I want to just go a little bit deeper too on this, right? Can you give us some more examples about where in this whole medical device industry are you developing this technology around?
Yes, so we're developing technology based on sound. Sometimes people confuse that with digitizing stethoscopes, and there's a reason for that because, first of all, our first product is a stethoscope, so I don't blame them. On the other hand, what we are doing is we are really exploring the signal itself. And I can give you a couple of examples of where sound really has a major disruptive work that probably nobody knows. I don't know if you guys knew this, but there's these stethoscopes that are actually microphones that look like a little kilo weight that are placed on bridges when they are under construction or when they get too old to be able to locate cracks in the bridges. They're also microphones that you place in the places of oil extraction in the middle of the ocean. You put them inside of the water to locate marine life around it. So sound has always been one of the most powerful forces on Earth. And it is one of the most interesting signals to explore. The problem is that for many centuries in medicine, we've been using sound only as a subjective information tool based on the stethoscope. And when we started to identify the opportunities of sound, we realized that we had actually a massive potential that probably has never really been reached with sound because of the lack of development of MEMS microphones or electret microphones, or because of the inability for us to be able to analyze in real time the sound signals until the new growth on the AI market, right? So now we can see that there are two things that are converging into one, right? This semiconductor revolution combined with the ability to be able to create different models of artificial intelligence to give us this power of analytics. And then from that moment, suddenly we can do so many things with sound outside of the typical conventional usage of stethoscopes. So for Lapsi, what we're doing is we're combining the power of sound with power of photometric information. So coming from PPG sensors, which is the same sensors as you can find in your Aura Ring or in your Fitbit. So we just got a patent granted in Europe that we're extending to the United States on the application of sound and photoplethysmography together in a device like a stethoscope. And then, of course, from that point onwards, our mission is to develop wearable devices that capture that data without having to have any person listening on the other end, without having to have any action needed by the patient, and that can, through that data acquisition, get analytics or get insights that they've never had before. So that's the mission of Lapsi Health.
So what I'm hearing here is this is really going to revolutionize the future of diagnostics, monitoring by leveraging sound to do that. So I think you've done a great job at, setting the stage. Now, tell us a little bit more specifically about your product, your technology. I want the listener to really kind of understand what you've built and truly how it works.
Yes. So we built what we call a platform technology approach, in which we have one hardware component, which is basically uniform to every other device that we build. So we just have a one hardware core, multiple opportunities for devices, whether they are intermittent or wearable. They all use the same hardware core. And then we have built up a software architecture, which is the backend software architecture that grabs all the data. Remember that we not only using sound, we have inside of our devices, we have movement sensors, we have proximity sensors, we're going to be having a photoplethysmographer inside. So there's a lot of data that we capture outside of just sound. Some of those data are needed to be able to create convolutional algorithms that mix those two data sets into an insight. Okay, and all that software architecture is also uniform to all the devices that we build. And then what gives the devices their purpose is the AI. So what we call our hardware and software architecture is general purpose hardware architecture. Why? Because it has no purpose on its own. And the AI that connects to is the one that grants it its purpose. So for now, we have Keikku, which is our intermittent stethoscope. We have it right here, and we just launched it. I think it was yesterday. We launched it worldwide, and is already be able to be pre-ordered. Actually, it already has been pre-ordered multiple times. Just in 24 hours, we had around 2,500 visits to our website, which was incredible. A majority from the United States. In the first 6 hours, we already were at 25 devices pre-ordered, which was really fantastic. By the end of the day, we've already achieved 100. So it's something that we are very happy to see. Two distributors also signed with us, and they ordered around 1,500 devices. So we continue to build up the momentum for the company. But the point is that Keikku, which is our first device, is an intermittent stethoscope, the first generation of the platform that only at the moment has the microphones and the movement sensors. In the next generation, it will have a PPG sensor embedded in its membrane. And at that point, it will be able to capture two streams of data and give us all those insights.
It's so fascinating, Jonathan, and I almost feel like we're not doing justice to just the design aspect of this. I know you held it up there for a second, but for anyone who's listening in, you have to go and look up this launch video because it was so dramatic, it was so beautiful, it was so well put together. And so this aspect of design, I think, runs through the whole technology. So I'd love if you could maybe talk a little bit more about how you've approached the design, because you share the name Jhonatan Ive from Apple, and that's immediately what I think about as a product. Like if Apple was going to design this technology, this is exactly what it would look like because it is so perfect in its form.
Well, when we wanted to build that technology, we said we're not just going to build up a device that has sensors. Like that is already is a challenge to build up a device with sensors. Of course, you have to integrate batteries and GPUs and all these other semiconductor technologies, and you still have to build up a firmware and a software and the AI. And however, we do believe that there's an intention of purchase, and there's something called moments of delight. We and myself especially, we are very big fan of that terminology. The first time that we heard that terminology was actually at Stanford Research Institute. We had a meeting with Manish, the former president, and he was telling me about the whole concept of moments of delight. And he also referred to our device as a device that brings moments of delight. And from that point onwards, we were very focused on how can we integrate the most powerful technology that is completely clinically valid and clinically relevant, that can really revolutionize clinic, but at the same time that gives the user, whether it is a doctor, a nurse, physician's assistant, a patient, or a caregiver, that moment of delight, that moment of ease, that moment of friendliness, a moment when you trust the technology that you're using and you realize that this is actually something that you're meant to use for a long time. So that's how we designed it. I think one of the first core principles of our technology was no buttons, no plugs, zero open compartments, because we know that stethoscopes are a big vector of hospital-acquired infections. So one of the first things we wanted to do was to build up a device that's completely sealed, that charges wirelessly, connects wirelessly, that is being used with movement sensors, so you don't have to look for any buttons or implement any type of open compartments. Everything is sealed. However, you can control the device from the knob. So the knob has all these sensors inside, movement sensors that allow us to be able to create gesture control capabilities. When you rotate it like a volume knob, the volume goes up, and when you tap on it, your earphones could go into transparency. When you double tap on it, you can record. When you triple tap on it, you can go from cardiac auscultation to filter auscultation by changing filters. So those things are basically all coded into our architecture, and it allows us to be able to create this one unison of hardware that in maybe another wearable, the accelerometer will have a different approach and will have a different usage. But for Keikku, it gives it power, it gives it functionality, and everything was completely designed within our human-centric strategy.
It's so interesting, Kyle, because you think about the way that Jonathan framed this at the beginning, rather than thinking about one specific problem, it was about the bigger picture. And then I think about in terms of this design, this is so equal to that because it's something you just want to pick up and you truly do get delight from seeing it. And you can just imagine wanting to use it because of that beautiful form, that shape, and the functionality and the experience that that offers by using a great product that's so well designed.
I couldn't agree anymore. And I think what's really cool and unique too here is just how you're leveraging technology and sound in general. Jonathan, I'm curious too. What did it take to really develop the ability to hear the sound, receive that sound, process the sound? Like, what went into that side of your device and kind of, without disclosing all of your proprietary information here, but like, what is it that really makes your device so unique with its ability to receive that sound and then to leverage the sound to provide a diagnosis?
We wanted to build this device, and the first thing we did was we developed the industrial design, right? We had this person from Finland that came into the team that he's designed some of the most beautiful electronics. So he's won the Red Dot Award like infinite times. And he came in with this beautiful design, and we were like, okay, we want it, we want that, And then we started to give some key information to build up the design better, like no buttons. It's important to me. No plugs. That's super important. So we started to like build up the design, and at some point we realized that the sound might be affected by the design, right? So how do we do now to bring this amazing sound and at the same time be able to have the design that I want, right? That was one of the biggest issues. For instance, our device connects directly to the phone via Bluetooth, and then from the phone I connect to my earphones via Bluetooth as well. A majority of earphones in the world right now, they are using not BLE audio protocols, but normal Bluetooth 5 or 4. So what happens then is that I cannot connect my device yet directly to the Bluetooth earphones. I have to go through the phone, and what the problem there is that those two Bluetooth connectivities will create a delay by nature, right? So how do I solve out that delay? So we have been working a lot in the code, and I can't tell you what we did, but we've been definitely working a lot in the code to be able to create that symbiotic feel and that synergistic auscultation feel, that powerful sound with high fidelity, but based fully on a Bluetooth signal. Um, Many companies skip that by adding wires, and that basically allows you to be able to deploy in an easier way. The signal, you can use analog microphones, and there's a lot of different things that you can do. But when you really want to force it to be wireless, then you really will have to be very good at it. So we built that, and that was a challenge. But at the end, I think that just like Barney says in How I Met Your Mother, like challenge accepted, and and then we just went for it, and so far we've been very successful. We have a fantastic team. I mean, I didn't do any of this. I was just like basically, telling guys, I want this, I want that, and then they were building it. So sometimes I was so amazed. I would go back to the office, and then we have our amazing sound engineer, Anna, and she would be like, Jonathan, test this with your, put on your earphones, test this sound, and I test it on, and I'm like, oh my God, like how did we do this? How did we create this massive leap? So that was a little bit some of the things that happened in the office, in a daily basis, what we were creating. And then the person that really kind of like steered the ship completely was Diana, the chief medical officer, because she's the one that had this clear clinical usage mindset, right? For instance, one of our functionalities is that when you're doing an auscultation, with one click, you just basically flip. I can show you. I don't know if I can show you really like here, but maybe in a bit I can show you on the app. But basically, the thing is that when you grab you're auscultating on your phone, and then the only thing you need to do is to swipe. Here it is. Okay. And maybe it's not gonna go into the podcast, but you can see it. So when we're doing an auscultation, so here's my device, which is now auscultating. Okay, you can see it there. So if I put it here, you're gonna see. Let me just check. Yeah, here it is.
There it is.
All right. So, but the cool thing is that what we can do as well is that we can just create a streaming. And so if you have like students in your practice, you're like in the hospital with all these patients, and you have like maybe like 10 students behind you. And usually what you need to do is you need to, put on your stethoscope, and you hear a murmur, and then you have to take it out and then give it one by one to every single student. Instead of doing that, what we said is we're just going to create a QR code. And then what they can do is open your camera, check my QR code. It will open a web application, put on your earphones. We all auscultate with one Keikku. And then the other thing we said, and this was all Diana's, because she's been in medical education, and she's a doctor nowadays, and she is also a PhD, and she's working in academic hospitals. So she sees all these day-to-day things that could really revolutionize the way we do medicine. And then the other one is that we can also share a link. So if you just click here, you share a link. And when you share a link, what happens is that basically the sort of telemedicine, an audio telemedicine session turns on. And we can immediately use our microphones as if it was a call. So we can talk to a person wherever they are. And how I explain this to doctors is, okay, you're a resident, you're like at the hospital, you're on your shift, a patient comes in, your supervisor is at the supermarket. And the patient comes in and she's got a little bit worse, and you're like, I'm not sure about this patient with COPD. What am I gonna do? I just open my app and I send her a link. And then we connect, we can speak with each other. She's still picking her apples in the supermarket, but we're speaking with each other. We have the on the earphones, we can have an actual call. And then the moment that I put my Keikku on my patient, the proximity sensor will cancel my earphones, and it will allow the auscultation to be in full active noise cancellation to both of us. So forget about telemedicine video platforms and having to sit in front of a computer. If you want to have a second opinion, you're gonna have a second opinion express, right? And I think that is one of those things that we are really excited about, that she was able to develop for us.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, honestly, that user design aspect, it just comes back to this word design. And I think you were almost underselling yourself, Jonathan. And Dana's clearly a huge part of this, but you are a beautiful conductor to a beautiful orchestra listening in. And so I think all around this team is doing an incredible job. I'd love to turn in the corner a little bit now to talk about, your target market, because when I again watched that launch video, you had so many doctors who were on there going, I want this, I need this now. When is it available? Is it just doctors you're targeting, or who else would be in your target market?
No, no doctors. I mean, first of all, we know that the population of professionals in general that use a stethoscope in their daily basis are not only physicians. They are nurses, they are nurse practitioners, they are physician assistants, they are EMTs, and they all deserve to have the best and latest technologies, and they all deserve to be empowered because we all see the same people every day, and the patient doesn't discern, and we shouldn't either. And on top of that, we do believe that at some point it should probably land in also in people's homes. I mean, I have to tell you, you probably know this story, right? The thermometer, when it was implemented in medicine, like doctors were they wanted it to be for them, for medicine, and it was only at the point of care for a long time until it kind of like found its way to every person's home. Now, when you buy your first house and you start your family, the first thing you do is you go buy a thermometer. In my case, I buy a thermometer with an app, right? I need the thermometer with the app. But this is basically what people are doing nowadays, and we believe that individualized care and personal awareness of health is increasing, and we need to build up technologies that will cope with that awareness. So as a physician, I really encourage my colleagues, professionals, to start with it. I want it to be first very, very powerful in care before it goes to the hands of the consumer. But at some point, I would love to see a world in which we all use technologies that are very beautifully designed and that have this potential to be able to expand new horizons in the healthcare space.
Is a consumer able to purchase your device today, Keikku?
No, not today.
Okay.
We are selling it only to healthcare providers right now.
Yeah, makes sense. I would imagine there'd be a bit of a learning curve, and it's like, at home,
Yes.
what do you do with that? But it makes a lot of sense, though, in the hospital setting or doctor's office setting, of course. Wow, really special.
I feel like we're teasing everyone here, Kyle. I mean, like, if you're listening in, I'm sure they want to know, how do you get it? Like, if you're
Yeah.
in the hospital setting, like, how would they get their hands on one of these?
Well, you just go to keikku.health and you just pre-order one. We are expecting to start delivering in the United States by Q1 2025. So we already have ramped up manufacturing. The manufacturing happens in Finland. So we basically are manufacturing in, it's so funny because we are in the same little city in Oulu where the Aura ring was developed. Aura is also a company from Finland. So it's a very little town with loads of engineers, loads. And this is because Nokia used to have their headquarters there. So there's a lot of talent there, and we're so lucky to have people like Tony Leinonen, that is the founder of Haltian. That Haltian developed the Aura ring. So we have this powerful team, and the device is built there, so with the highest standards of and quality of design. At some point, I think that we are probably going to be moving the production towards the United States for market reasons and also for company reasons. I think that it's probably the smartest thing to do. But for now, this is happening in Finland. The software is built in the Netherlands and in the US. So we have teams a little bit scattered all over the world. And we also have our CTO based in Chile. So yeah, it's a little bit of an international company. The technology, you can find it on keikku.health, Keikku with double K, after so KEIKKU.health, and you can just pre-order it now. I mean, one thing that I wanted to say before we go to the next topic is not only in the clinical space, we also could consider that an extension of a clinician's presence is telemedicine. And an extension of a clinician's presence is remote monitoring. And it fits beautifully there because it is one of the most non-intimidating devices that you can have at home, where with the help of a healthcare provider, you can actually deliver so many insights to your health team to enhance and monitor your health, especially with chronic condition patients.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems like a very intuitive design, which is really nice. And to your point, even Richard, that you were kind of making that comparison to Apple products, right? It does have that look and feel, which are very intuitive and easy to use. So it's really, really neat to hear all of this. So I really like how you guys started with the stethoscope, right? At the end of the day, every doctor, physician, nurse, everyone's got a stethoscope, right? So it just makes a ton of sense. What about other potential use cases for your technology?
Exactly. So the timeline, which is super important to us.
Yeah.
So we are looking to introducing generation two around a year and a half after this launch. And generation two will add the PPG sensor to the Keikku. That's the first new launch that we have, and we're gonna be having these events. As you saw this week, we're going to be having for every launch one, because we think it really calls people and it sparks creativity and conversation. Anyway, so generation two has a PPG sensor, and of course that means that we're going to be able to give you temperature, we're going to be able to give you heart rate, we're going to be able to give you arrhythmia detection, we're going to be able to give you SpO2, and other secret algorithms that will allow your battery of digital biomarkers to be incredibly powerful and rich. So how we what is the motto of this Keikku generation 2 is 40 seconds total diagnostics. And to the first buyers of the generation 1 Keikku, we're going to give them an incredible perk for the generation 2. I can't tell you which one, but it's going to be fantastic. And then we have the wearable devices that come afterwards, which is going to be super exciting for us. So we have two wearable devices that we are basically in the make. And the cool thing is that the hardware for the Generation 2 Keikku is exactly the same one as the hardware for the wearable devices inside. So while we develop Keikku Generation 2, we're basically already developing our wearable devices. Um, for the wearable devices, we have two applications that we're exploring right now. One of them is pulmonary monitoring because of obvious reasons. We're talking about a stethoscope, which is just basically for every pulmonary disease right now by clinicians in the clinic. And then because of the SpO2 that allows us to be able to monitor oxygenation, and because of the proximity sensor and accelerometer and gyroscope package that allow us to be able to use it as a seismographer and monitor the movement of the chest. So I cannot tell you which algorithms we're building on that sense as well, because that's part of our IP. But the cool thing is that with this type of wearable, you can actually track exacerbation in real time. So our goal is to track pulmonary exacerbation in real time. That's it. Whether it is an infection or a chronic condition that exacerbates, whether it is asthma or COPD. And then the other wearable that we're building, for which I cannot tell you absolutely nothing. I can only tell you the I'm sorry. I can only
That's
tell
okay.
you
We like the teasers though. So
the
do our
intended
audience.
use.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I can only tell you the intended use, and the intended use is to make this wearable fetal a healthcare monitor that is independent on fetal position. And there, I've already said too much.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Makes sense. What about cardiology? I mean, that's obviously a huge challenge today.
Well, I believe that, in the space of auscultation, there's a lot of companies doing a lot of things in cardiology. Basically,
Hmm.
everyone is doing something in cardiology. And we're not turning our face away from cardiology. Actually, the first AI algorithm that we're bringing into the space, which is a murmur detection algorithm for cardiology, for structural heart disease. But we don't really consider the space that it there are so many patches for cardiology right now in the space. You have the
Yeah.
iRhythms, you have the BioTels, you have wearable devices like the Cardio Watch from Corsano Health, where I was the chief medical officer, or where you have multiple ones. So we believe that the space is very well served, but there's one space that is not served, and it's fetal healthcare. Fetal healthcare is not served. So for us, another thing that really moves us is the mission. And our mission is to really serve the underserved. So that's why we're going into those applications.
Wow.
I mean, we love that here. When we are on the MedTech Impact podcast, creating that type of impact, that's what it's all about. And honestly, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask you about the vision, but I think that mission pretty much sums it up. What else is coming up for you? You've got this launch, you've got this products going to market. You're always on the road, Jonathan. Where are you going to be next?
I'm actually traveling on Sunday, heading to Boston for the Digital Health AI conference from Amir Lahav. And after that, it's going to be packed. luckily, I'm very lucky to be able to be invited to speak at several events, all over the world. We have a couple of imminent pilots that we have to set. So one of them is with John Hopkins in Saudi Arabia, the John Hopkins from Daman in Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to be there as well, exploring their locations and discussing things with their innovation team. There's a lot of different things that are coming for the company in terms of partnerships and pilots that we have to set up into different clinical systems. So for now, it will be a lot about traveling and also going on stage promoting. And then we have a team that is, and I cannot stress it more. We have an amazing team that is really putting up an incredible campaign to be able to bring this technology to so many hands as fast as we can. It is, as we talk about mission, it is our mission to be able to really be a force of transformation. So because of that, we also are exploring partnerships in countries outside of the realm of the Western world. Think about Latin America, for instance. Although they're Western, they're not really considered Western, but countries that are in the middle income, group, we would love to partner up with them and allow them also to transform the healthcare. I was just having a chat yesterday with a very interesting influencer from the US and Mexico, and we were talking about the potential of this technology to basically decrease the boundaries of the geographic limitations of health in rural Latin America. And it's one of those things that really inspire me to be able to just build up these types of technologies.
Yeah, I think we can all get behind that. I think it's very hard, and we were just speaking about this the other day around trying to disrupt in healthcare. But if you want that bottom-up approach, you have to make it work in settings which maybe have, challenges in terms of access and inclusion. And so, yeah, we can all get behind that again. This has been amazing, Jonathan. I know you're traveling and you're a busy person, but somebody wants to maybe invite you onto their stage. What would be the best way to get in touch?
Send me a LinkedIn message. I'm always checking it, so I'm always available. And I love to connect with people. So I'm not the type of person that won't reply. I would probably reply to almost every LinkedIn message. I even reply to messages that are like hidden on Instagram. And I was mentoring this medical student from Brazil, right, a couple of months ago. He had these ambitions on AI, and I was just giving some, having some calls and chats with him. And he just found me on Instagram. He sent me a message, and I'm always reading them. And I had a mentor when I was a child. I was 16 years old, 14 years old in high school, and I went to the Interactive in the United States, and my mentor became so actually. It's really funny story, but a Nobel Prize. I met a Nobel Prize at the Intel ICEF, and I asked him to be my mentor on emails, and he eventually mentored me for a long time. We still are in touch until now. This is Richard Roberts, the Nobel Prize from 1993 of medicine. So these things happen, people are approachable, and I am one of those. So I love to be approachable. Anyone that wants to talk to me, I'm really happy to speak with them on LinkedIn.
Incredible. Oh man, I gotta say, what a conversation this has been today. Lapsi Health. I mean, come on. The future of diagnostics, it's here. The future of leveraging sound and AI, it's here. Jonathan, you've done such an amazing job. We are so excited for you, your company, your technology, your entire team, and really all of the patients that are going to be impacted in such a positive way by your product. So thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing this with everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, another huge thank you to Jhonatan Bringas, co-founder and CEO of Lapsi Health. And thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Medtech Impact Podcast. I'm Kyle Cruz.
And I'm Richard Beaglejohn. Until next time, keep innovating.